Another common emotional trigger is fear. My friend Sally discovered this when she moved her mother, Hattie, from an assisted living facility into a new memory care community. Like Emily, Hattie had always been pleasant and easy to get along with. Sally had thoroughly vetted the memory care, and she felt confident that her mother would get excellent care there. So after unpacking her things and getting her settled, Sally sighed a big sigh of relief, got in her car, and drove home. She had just pulled into the driveway when her mother called, and she said, "There is a horrible, awful, ugly old woman in my apartment. She's mean. She's cussing at me and calling me names. I want her out of here. Please make her go. Make her leave." Well, Sally said, I'll call the administrator, which she did. She hung up and she called the administrator right away and told her that her mother was distraught because someone had come into her room and was calling her terrible names. The administrator called back a few minutes later and she said, "I went into your mother's room and no one else was in there. I didn't see anybody come or go, and I've talked to the staff and nobody seems to know what's going on, but I'll watch your door and make sure that no one other than staff goes in. Is that okay?" And she said, "Sure." Well, about an hour later, Hattie called again. "She's back! She's back! She's yelling at me and she's calling me horrible names. She's so ugly. She's so awful. I hate her so much. Make her go." Again, Sue called the administrator and they went through the same process all over again. The third time Hattie called, Sally was convinced that the staff just wasn't paying attention. So she got in her car and she drove to the facility. She walked into her mother's apartment and asked, "Is she still here?" And Hattie said, "Yes, she's in there," and she pointed to the bathroom door. Sally walked over to the bathroom door, opened it cautiously, flipped on the light, and looked around. She didn't see anyone. And then her mother came up behind her, and she pointed at the mirror, and she said, "There she is. You are awful. You're ugly. I hate you. You are a witch. Get out of here." And that's when Sue realized there wasn't an intruder. Hattie was actually seeing her own reflection in the mirror, and she did not recognize herself. Now, there were multiple triggers in this situation. First, Hattie was in a new environment. She was confused and scared. Perhaps it had been a long time since she had looked at herself in a mirror, or maybe this was the first time that she just didn't recognize herself. It's hard to know exactly why she reacted the way she did. But the solution was actually quite simple. They removed the mirror and replaced it with a photograph of Hattie when she was in her early 60s so that she would recognize herself when she went to the bathroom. When she stood at the sink to wash her hands, she would look up and see herself looking back. She used the pseudo mirror to brush her hair and put on her lipstick, and sometimes the lipstick ended up on her lips, and sometimes she applied it to other parts of her face. But she was never again frightened by her own image.